Hey guys, Advent of Code 2022 day 7. I'm recording it after the fact because I spent multiple hours last night and this morning trying to figure this out and finally just figured it out. So I didn't want to show you the whole process because that would not make for a fun YouTube video, but we'll go ahead and go over it right now after the fact and I'll tell you what I did. So this one, they need to clear off some space from a computer. You have a list of input here. These are commands, changing directories, listing directories, and then the output of those commands as well, such as this file name is this many bytes big, etc., etc. So that's the tree. It tells you what these commands do, and then this is kind of what it would break down to. These files belong to these directories with these sizes, etc. It wants to know what the total size is of each directory, and then the prompt, the question, what is the sum of the total sizes of those directories if they are less than what looks to be 100,000 bytes? So let's go ahead and dive into it. What we could do here is we could go in and say, make sure my input's here. We could have path equals a list. We're going to build our paths. We're going to set up our default dictionary of integers. These are going to be the total bytes, basically. We're going to iterate the whole list. We're going to split the line because we need to know if pieces of that line are a certain command, right? So if basically item number 1 is ls, we're just going to continue. We don't care. What we care about is changing the directories because we're counting the bytes per directory. So then we're going to say, okay, if we're changing a directory, the first thing we're going to do is if we're going to go up a directory, right? If we cd ... which is to go up a directory in Unix, we're going to pop the path, aka we're going to remove the last item of that list because we no longer need it, right? We went up. We're keeping a current list of directories that we're in. If it's not ... we actually changed into or down into a directory. What we're going to do then is we're going to set this up and add our totals to 0. Because this is a new directory that we're in, we're going to start keeping track of that directory. And then we're going to append that path to the path list. Now, if it is numeric, we know that this is bytes. So this is when we actually want to keep track of the data itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, this is an integer. And then we're going to go in for every item inside of the length of path plus 1, because range starts at 0. We're going to take the last directory on path. Now, this is where I absolutely died. I had to look this up, unfortunately. I was not smart enough to figure this out with multiple hours of looking through it myself. I did this problem 4 or 5 completely different ways and got very close. I did get the sample input to work correctly. However, when it blew up to bigger set of data, it didn't work. And I think it's because I wasn't including all of the different pieces of the path. So basically what we're doing here is we're going to join the path on slashes, and this is the last directory of the path. Then we're going to plus equals those bytes to that portion of the totals. So we're keeping track of that directory has this many bytes, right? Because one thing that probably burned a lot of people, it certainly did me, is this right here. As in this example, this process can count files more than once. So that means that an item like I, it technically belongs to E and A and slash, right? And so we need to make sure that we are adding the bytes of I, the file, because it belongs to all 3 of these directories. So we count it 3 times, is what that means. Then the criteria they want is 100,000. We're going to sum all of the different values of our totals if that total is less than or equal to the criteria they gave us, aka each of these is like the key for these is the directory name. And so we just want to get the values of the bytes. And that gave us our answer here, which is 1,513,699. And that was my answer. So for part 2, they have a total disk space of, I think, 7 million bytes. I'm not going to count the zeros on that. And we need to update something. To run the update, we need 3 million. Let's see. 30 million. Yep, 30 million bytes. We need to find a directory you can delete that will free up enough space to do so. Then they give you all sorts of examples, etc., etc. And then what is the total size of that directory? They want to find the smallest directory that we can blow away to make room for said update. Right, so the total space that we have is the 70 million. In Python, we can actually do underscores. I rarely do this, but this could be fun use case for this. Underscores basically tell Python, hey, this is the same exact number, right? Because we can't have a comma in here, it's going to break. But it will allow you to split this up so that you as a human knows what this number is. So the total space is 70 million. The space needed, or this is how much, that's a dumb name, I'm going to change it. Space needed is 30 for the update. Our free space is the total space that is on the disk minus the totals that we have for slash, right? Because remember, slash contains absolutely everything on this disk because we added it up as such up here. The update space needed is going to be the space needed subtracting our free space. And then we're going to get the minimum directory bytes if it's greater than or equal to the update space. And in this case, that's 79 million. And that's the answer for number 2. So all in all, I started late on this one. I spent a couple hours up through midnight, past midnight, trying to figure it out. Couldn't get it. This morning, tried again before work. Still couldn't get it. And then during my lunch break here, revisited it because I was just missing literally one line that would have tied it all together. My first answer was very close, but it was just shy of this 15 number here. I think it was about 11. And so it was just not quite counting everything possible. And so once that was tweaked, we are good to go. So if you like what you see, make sure to subscribe to me. We'll see you tomorrow for day 8.